Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Jackie from Jackie's Craft Table, and I'm so excited to be on the Not Too Shabby Shop's YouTube channel today. I'm going to be making some Christmas cards using some products from the Not Too Shabby Shop. So let me show you what I have here. These first two are from Lawn Fawn. This one is called Holiday Messages, or Giant Holiday Messages, and they say, "We wish you a Merry Christmas and warm winter wishes and happy holidays." I also have the coordinating die for this. I love having the coordinating dies. And this is a great standalone die as well. And then I have Papery Ink's Giant Holiday 2. I don't actually end up using this stamp set in this video, but I'll link to a video in my description box below where I used all of these stamp sets and dies to create some holiday tags. So the technique I'm using today is super fun and really easy to do. I'm going to use some watercolor paper for this. This is some hot press watercolor paper, and it has a nice smooth texture to it. This is from Stonehenge, and I really love this watercolor paper. So I have one panel here. I just cut that off the block with my penknife, and then I'm going to cut this panel in half. This is 10 inches long. So I'm going to cut it in half at the 5-inch mark. And then I'm going to be taping this to my clipboard. I'm going to be using a lot of water on these panels, so it does help to tape them in place on all 4 sides. They will still buckle up with all of the moisture, but the tape kind of helps them to flatten back down when they're dry. I'm using some tape from Spellbinders. This is called the Best Ever Craft Tape, and I really love this stuff. It is a low-tack tape. Sorry, I'm off camera there. I'll push it up here. So I have my water ready, as well as some paper towels and my paint brushes. And I'm going to be using some paint from Arteza. I have their 36 pan set, and it's a nice set for card crafters. It comes with a lot of colors, and it's fairly inexpensive. So let's get started. So here's my paint palette. I'll show you what the colors look like. Let me open this up. But there's some really pretty colors in here. To begin with, I'm going to wet down my cardstock, or I should say my watercolor paper. I don't want to have the water pool up on the paper or anything, but I do want a nice sheen of water on these 2 panels. So I looked up on Google for some pretty ideas for some plaid patterns, and I have it up on the screen in front of me while I'm painting here. But do you ever feel like just pulling out your paints but not trying to do anything too difficult? You just want to add some color to the paper. This is perfect if you want to do that. Because all I'm going to do is first put down a layer of color, an underpainting. I'm going to create a pink panel and a green one. I wanted kind of a lighter pink because I want to have red stripes on this. And I could have gone a little bit darker on this pink panel because it does, of course, dry back lighter. And I'm not concerned with getting a really smooth underpainting either, because we're going to be covering most of this up with more paint. Okay, let's wash out my paintbrush and add water to the second panel. I chose a really pretty limey green for this panel. I like to create a puddle of color in one of the wells on the tin palette, just so I don't have to keep dipping back into the pan. And I'll add a little bit of water and start painting. I do come in with a darker shade after this initial painting. Just want it to be a little bit darker. And I'm just dipping right into the pan for this. But it is just a shade darker. You could, of course, skip the underpainting altogether if you wanted some of the areas on your plaid pattern to be white or whatever color your paper is. And now I'm going to allow these to dry, and you can tell if they're dry completely because they will no longer be cool to the touch. So now let's add some stripes, and this is just so much fun to do. I want some bright red stripes on both of these. And this technique is called glazing because we're not painting completely over the underpainting. We're just going to add some paint on top and watch it change color a little bit. And then, of course, we'll do more of the glazing when I do stripes across these stripes. And it's just fun because it creates different colors. So I'm putting some pretty bright red stripes down this. And I'm not worried that the stripes are crooked because they are very crooked, but that's okay. I think the faster you move your paintbrush, the straighter it's going to be. I was going kind of slow here. I did speed this up just a little bit. But you can see how wiggly my lines are. But that's okay. It just adds to the charm of it. So don't worry about that. Just have fun with this technique. I'll put one more stripe down the side here. And then I'll do a few stripes across these. And it doesn't look like much now, but trust me, as we go along, it's going to look really cute. So let's add some diagonal stripes to the green panel. And you can see how the color changes with the green underpainting. You can use your heat tool to dry it, but actually I'm just going to allow mine to air dry and get in a little bit of reading time. I'm in one of my reading modes lately where all I want to do is read. Next, I'm going to add some green stripes, and the stripes are going to be a lot thinner this time. I like the different widths of the lines. I think it adds a lot of cuteness to the plaid pattern. I'm going to do more green over the green underpainting, and even a darker green with more of a thinner stripe. Now I want to do a dark pink stripe on these. But you could just keep going and adding stripes and colors to your panels. It's just a lot of fun to do. I'm going to add a few more thicker green stripes to the pink panel. I do allow my stripes to dry before I paint over them with another stripe so that they won't bleed. I'm going to add a deeper burgundy color next. And then I'm going to be adding some white. The pop of white really looks nice on the plaid paper. And I'm just using the bleed-proof white from Dr. P.H. Martin. So I'll just dip my paintbrush in this little pot of white paint. This is nice because it's a dark white. Or I should say really bright white. It covers up everything underneath it. So let's start putting some stripes of white across these. And again, I'm going to do thin stripes and thick stripes. But I just love this touch of white. I'll get out another thicker brush and add some thicker stripes with this white. Then I can start adding it to the green panel. And then, of course, I like to add some thin stripes as well. And then I'll allow this to dry, and I'm going to pull out some gold watercolor paint. This adds such a pretty touch to your plaid paintings. When you hold it in the light, you can really see the shimmer. Otherwise, it's kind of subtle. But it really adds a lot. I again allowed that to dry completely, and now I'm going to pull off the tape. And I'm going slow, but with watercolor paper and low-tack tape, it's inevitable that it's going to rip. I have never met a low-tack tape that doesn't rip watercolor paper. So I'm just trying to pull it back on itself so that I don't rip into my painting. But it's completely ripping on the sides where I'm pulling up the tape. But that's okay. I'm going to cut these panels down. And then I'll hold these in the light so you can see the shimmer of the gold paint. It's so pretty. Okay, let me hold these up for you. Isn't that so much fun? I'm using 4 different dies to cut out these panels. So I'll be able to make up 4 cards with these. Let me take them off camera and run them through my die cutting machine. And I'll pop them out of the dies. I have 4 different die cuts now. And on each one of these, I'm going to use the large stamps. And then this last one comes with a scalloped frame that I just popped out. So I'm going to show you the complete stamping. Usually I just show you one stamping, but because it's watercolor paper and I have a lot of layers of watercolor on these, I stamp them out at least 3 times, if not more. On this first one, I think I stamped it out 3 times. The ink I'm using is VersaFine Onyx Black ink, which is a nice dark ink. I love this stuff. And here is the panel all done. I love these bold sentiments that you can stamp over very busy plaid pattern paper like this, and you can still see the sentiment. Then I'm going to stamp Warm Winter Wishes on the next one. These stamps are really cutesy looking stamps, and so I thought they would go well with a plaid pattern paper behind them. I'm going to use some pattern paper behind these. I'm using some from the Not Too Shabby shop as well as My Favorite Things. And then I also have just a pinkish red panel here from Spellbinders. I'll have all of the products I'm using listed in the description box below. But let's start putting these cards together. They're all going to be the same design. I'll use a pattern paper that's slightly smaller than my A2 sized card, and I'm going to attach them with some dot liner. So I'll center this on the card base. The sentiment plaid panel I'm going to pop up with some foam tape, using some Arteza foam tape to do this. And then I can pull off the release paper. And I'm not going to center this on the card. I'm going to put it on kind of askew. On each of these panels, I'm going to be using different embellishments. And on this first one, I'm using my favorite from Trinity Stamps. These are called Fortune Teller. These are kind of subtle, but I like how they look on this card. So I'm going to glue about 6 of them on this panel. I'm just using some Jackie's Craft Table liquid glue, and then it will dry clear if some happens to ooze out from behind the bead. I do end up putting bows on all of these cards as well, but I don't show the rest of the cards just because I'm doing the exact same thing over and over. But I'm going to give you a close-up of all 4 cards. So here's my first one with a nice yellow and white striped bow. But I love how that gold paint just catches the light and gleams. It adds something special to your Christmas cards. Here is card number 2 with a gold bow and some really bright embellishments. Clear but bright. Here is card number 3. And on this one, I used a pink bow to match the pink cardstock behind the plaid paper, and some gold sparkle embellishments. And on card number 4, I popped up the frame around it with some foam strips just to give it a little dimension. And I used a green bow on this, as well as some pink sparkly embellishments. I hope you'll give this technique of creating your own plaid pattern paper with watercolors a try. It is so much fun and very easy to do. These stamps are still in stock at the Not Too Shabby shop if you want to check them out. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you all have a fun, crafty day. Bye.